Yes, it's a motorcycle, not a trike. Yes, it will fall over if you let go of it. No, it's not just for unconfident riders. And why? Because you get 80% more grip at the front. Welcome to the Niken Diaries. So I've got this Yamaha Niken on long-term test over the winter. So far I've had it just under a week. I've just been a little bit commuting and riding up to the NEC for Motorcycle Live. I've ridden one before at Bruntingthorpe where we took some BikeSocial readers and just gave them a chance to try it and dispel some of the myths, but there's still been criticism from this, predominantly from people who haven't actually ridden it. There's a lot of questions around it. The first one I'm going to address in this diary is, does it filter? Yeah, it does. Now, it does look wider, it does look big, but you've got to remember that really it's only as wide as its bars. So it will cut through traffic pretty much like any other bike. Now I'm going to compare it to an MT-09, and while it's a bit of an arbitrary figure, I'd say it's 10 to 20% harder to filter than an MT-09. That's a naked MT-09, as in no luggage, anything like that. The bike is heavy at the front. You've got a lot of mechanics going on up here. Still got a 50-50 weight distribution, but Yamaha have got that by repositioning the rider slightly. So the 50-50 weight distribution, unlike on most bikes where it's claimed with the bike as it is, this is with the rider on it. So they're kind of sitting you in such a position to get it right. But it doesn't make it feel weird. You do feel a little bit perched on it. I think it doesn't feel quite like riding a normal bike, but it's comfortable. It just feels a little bit kind of higher, and you're set ever so slightly differently. But it's not something that you ride it and think, oh God, this is horrible, this feels weird. But that weight is carried very well. I mean, I've said on Facebook, on one of the Bennett's posts, that it's pretty much as nimble as any other bike. Now, somebody told me that that's absolute rubbish. I would say it's pretty much as nimble as any other bike. Now, I'm generalising here. It's not as nimble as my Grom. It's not going to be as nimble as a sports bike, but as a loaded up sports tour, or as a big adventure bike, especially some of the panniers. I know we're kind of mixing stuff here to try and equate it, but this isn't the behemoth, this isn't the unwieldy thing you think it's going to be. And when I saw it, and when I followed people on it, you think that looks weird. And it does look weird. But to ride it, it really is pretty much like any other motorbike. So, filtering. My biggest issue is with these mirrors, mounted low down, they're wide. They're not really any wider than any other motorbike's mirrors, but because they're a bit lower, they just seem to be feeling the wrong place. Now, you know, when you're filtering through traffic, you just kind of do that little lean and shimmy to get your mirrors over or under the cars and vans, and you just kind of cut through. This one we're talking about when it's really tight. Now, I was going up to Birmingham, and there was some roadworks, so the lanes got really narrow, and it was hard. There were bits where I just couldn't get through. Could I got through an MT-09? Yeah, probably, but it would have been tight. On here, I was just a little bit nervous, but only a little bit harder. It wasn't like Goldwing not getting through there. And compared to an adventure bike or anything that you've got panniers on, it's no harder. And here you've got the advantage of you can see the front getting through. If you've got the front through, you know you're getting the back through. Unless you put panniers on this, of course, which I do intend to try and get some luggage on here. Yamaha hasn't got the GT out yet. We'll be trying that early next year. I've spoken to Jivy. They haven't got anything yet, but hopefully they'll get something soon. The point of this front end is that you get more grip. I'm not going to argue about what grip is in this video. These diaries, the whole point of these is I'm going to talk to a lot of people. I'm going to get a lot of experiences. I'm going to do a lot of nimblicity testing. That's a new word. I'm going to take it on track. I'm going to do long distances. I'm going to do touring on it. I'm going to talk to people. I'm going to take it to meets. I'm going to see what kind of reaction I get. Some people don't want to ride this because they're worried about what reaction they'll get from other people. We won't get into that too much now. I'm not going to argue this proper biker rubbish. A proper biker will embrace other motorcyclists regardless of what or how they ride. Let's leave it at that. I don't really care if people are laughing. When I went into the NEC on this, you could see people looking, whoa, what's that? But I don't care. I've been riding since 96, so not as long as a lot of the other people I know. Good fun to ride. So anyway, filtering. Yes, you can get through. There was one point where it was a bit tight and I just leaned forward, pulled the mirrors in and I was through. I wouldn't have had to do that on a motorbike. It was a tight gap. I would have got through on a, sorry, I'm saying I wouldn't have had to do it on a motorbike. This is a motorbike. I wouldn't have had to have done that on an MT-09, for instance. But yeah, pulled the mirrors in and I was through. The thing is with this, in the wet especially, you have got more confidence. Now, at Bruntingthorpe it was bone dry. I was knee down on the first corner. That's not like me. It normally takes me a while to get used to a bike and relax into it and get the confidence to push it. And we found that with pretty well everybody else who rode it. They came back really enthusing about the confidence this setup gives you.
Bloody brilliant! That's good. Holy shit! What a machine that is! That is so stable on the front. There's just so much grip there. It's unbelievable.
The next thing I'm going to do is take this on some of my favourite back roads. Hopefully I'll get some dry weather. Obviously we're getting well into winter now. But I want to do it in the wet. I want to see how much fun I can have on the twisty back roads that I enjoy so much in the summer, in the winter with this. And if it helps me enjoy them right through the year, then this thing's got to be a success. But it's not slide proof. The other day on I don't know what I hit, but the front did slide. It shook me up, as it always does when a front slides. But I can only describe it as feeling more stable. Now, again, I'm going to talk to more people about this. We're going to meet people about this. These diaries will involve meeting people and chatting about what's going on. But it did feel like, rather than feeling like the front wanted to, it was only a very small slide. Anybody who followed me wouldn't have seen it. It didn't feel like the bike wanted to fold underneath itself. It was more like it just moves because I had that stability. For this to want to tuck, obviously you'd be having to lift that other side. There is a limit to how far this will lean, of course, but it's way beyond getting the pegs down. So in the wet, when it went, it did feel better. I still rode the rest of that bit worried and terrified it was going to slide, but yeah, it knocked my confidence, it's sliding. But also, I'd been starting to get a bit silly, thinking, I've got more grip, I can do what I like, it's wet, it doesn't matter, I'm on a Niken. It works. So far I am just running this in. Yeah, it's got 600 miles, something like, keep it under 5,600 revs. Don't do prolonged revs above 5,600, which means you can take it over it. And at those revs in top gear, you're doing 85 mile an hour. So actually it's not really a chore to be running it in. I've got 46 miles to the gallon out of it so far. Bear in mind, it's tighter. I expect that to loosen up. At the moment, 150 miles and it's flashing on reserve. So I want to get a bit more out of that for it to be a good tourer. A seat, I tend to get an achy bum pretty quickly on launches. I'm always the first one to complain of it. On this, yeah, after about an hour I could kind of feel a bit of an ache. But there's plenty of room to move around. There's a big wide seat. So that's kind of my first summary. We're only a couple hundred miles in. Do keep checking back because I'm going to be reporting back a lot on this bike. Putting it away in the garage, just one last thing I wanted to add. Doesn't really take up any more room than a normal bike. Fold in left-hand mirror, it gets against the wall. And, it's about the same. I've got to check myself from comparing this to motorbikes. It's a motorbike. It's just got two front wheels. Get over it.